Hello everyone. Today I'll be reviewing the Annis Euros based on the Nissan 370Z, also known as a Fair Lady Z in other markets. I did get this for a discount of $900,000, but since I have the trade price, it cost about $1.3 million. It is a little bit more expensive if you don't have the trade price. I'll put some more, details in the comments below if you're interested. But anyway, the customization here is pretty good. I feel like more could have been done. But overall, this should satisfy those of you who like to tune vehicles, uh, especially people in real life who have vehicles with customization, kind of like this, like way beyond the roof scoops and all that. This has some pretty nice hood options as well, and I'll touch more on all that stuff later once I get there. You can cover some of the lights, which is pretty cool, the headlights. So if you want that smoothed out look, you can do that. If you want to just change the glass in the front, you can do that too. But what I want to do with this build is make it a bit like a Nismo with my own touch to it. But anyway, the engine model, it's pretty cool that you can play with that stuff too. You can't do like an engine swap. You can just, change a few bits here and there, change the color, stuff like that. You do have the option to take off the engine cover, or you can just change the design of the engine cover as well, which is pretty nice to see. There's plenty of other vehicles that are very popular with tuners in real life that are in the game as well, but they do not come with this level of attention to detail. Um, but as I said, it would have been cool if you can do like an engine swap with this. I'm pretty sure it's popular with some people. You can change the strut braces, but these designs are not unique to this car. These have been featured in other vehicles before. The exhaust, I mean, you have a few to choose from here. They're not too bad, but I'm gonna go for the angled exhausts. I personally like the stock one, but the angled one is a bit different, so I might as well just choose that. Right? For this, you can add a little bit of a body kit to it. You can add some air intakes as well to the front. If you like wide bodies and you have this to choose from, it's nothing too. It doesn't stick out too much, which is pretty okay. It's fine. You can add your usual hood catches here, which keeps the hood nice and shut. But I'm not gonna choose any of those. For the hood options here, they're pretty nice. You can make some references to other vehicles and tuner vehicles from Fast and Furious. As you can see, these are some pretty wild options. Of course, you have your usual secondary and carbon options as well. You even have some that have glass. You can just see the engine model. For those of you who like very, unique and crazy builds, I'm sure this car will satisfy your needs. For the engine, for the interior model, you can add like you can add some NOS in the back. You can just change it to carbon, the dash, a fuel cell, uh, even a fire extinguisher, depending on which the options you choose. For the door options, you have your usual, weight reduction options there. Nothing new. Same goes for the seat options. These are not unique to this car, which isn't a big deal. I mean, I'm pretty sure these seats are supposed to be based off Recaro seats or those type of aftermarket seats. I usually do not choose these, but you know what? For this car, I might go for the carbon tuner seats. I'm not quite sure which one. I mean, you guys tell me in the comments which one looks best. I really like the red on it. But you know what? I'm gonna go for the carbon tuner. Also, for the steering wheels, these are not unique, but they can still fit with the build that you're trying to go for. I really like how the Rowley looks. The one in the bottom, the Rowley Professional. It adds buttons. It adds some more padding. I just like the design to it, so I'm gonna go with that. For the roll cages, if you're into this, then you can. These are pretty good options to choose from still. For what I'm going for, I'm just gonna leave it out, but I might as well just go through the options for some of you guys, before you make that decision, right? For the livery now, these are pretty cool. I'm not gonna choose any for this car, but these are very well made. You do have your usual white and black stripes though, but you still have a fine selection here to choose from that's pretty unique. Maybe these are based on something in real life. Most of these liveries are just unique and completely made up by Rockstar, but some of them are inspired by real life, race liveries and stuff like that, or movie references. The Drift Tribe and the Skin or King Scorpion. That one was in Fast and Furious. I'm not sure which one, since it was a pretty long time ago. I really don't follow those movies. But anyway, the stock mirrors, I'm just gonna leave them on. I feel like carbon would be a bit too much, so I'm just gonna leave them on. But for the color, I'm gonna give this a metallic, and then I'm gonna give it a nice pearlescent. The real life car did have an optional pearl tri-coat color, so it kind of shines in the light. It looks very nice when you look at it when there's sunlight. I understand that the whites and other lighter colors in this garage look, you know, the lighting is just horrible in here. But you know what? Once I get out of the garage, it's just gonna look a lot better. It's kind of hard to tell which of these to choose from. Uh, the cream, the ice white, but you know what? I mean, the frost white is probably the best option. The lighting in here, as I said, isn't really the best, so it's kind of hard to tell which one to go for. But I might as well just choose the frost white, as I said, for now. For the secondary, that changes, the little strip there on the splitter and the brakes. But for this, I'm gonna go for a red. As I said, I'm gonna be trying to mimic the Nismo uh, trim level. So I'm just gonna go for a Torino red. The pearlescent does transfer over to the secondary colors, but you know what? It still works with this card. Doesn't look too bad. The real one was a bit shiny as well, so it's not a big deal. For the interior, I think I'm just gonna make it red as well. I know it's very out there and crazy, but you know what? It's the Nismo. Might as well just add some more red in there. There is some red on the headlights as well, which is pretty cool. Some of you might find that annoying. Others might see this as a pretty nice detail. I personally like it. You have your usual dial colors there. I'm just gonna leave those white. For some reason, behind the wheel, there's like a piece there that's a bit. Uh, it's like a different color. It won't let me change it for some reason. Maybe it's different for you guys, but I'll probably come back to that later after I'm done recording. For the roof, I mean, you have your usual secondary, your sweep roofs. You have your indented type of roofs with carbon and stuff like that. As I said, I know it looks very bright in here. I apologize for that, but just bear with me for a second. But you know what? I might just put some carbon on this on the roof. I wasn't planning on putting on carbon, but you know what? Why not? I feel like it just adds some more contrasts as well. For the skirts, these options are still pretty good, but I really like the stock one. It's already subtle with how it looks. The Rowley skirt, I really like that one as well. That's like my second favorite option. The arrow skirts, that's pretty cool too. But as I said, I just like the stock one. For the front splitters, I mean, you still have good options here. I really like the arc splitter. That's the one I'm gonna go for in a bit. The rest of these are pretty out there, but I'm gonna get as close as possible to, a factory build. Nothing that's too crazy, right? For the spoilers, I mean, it's nice that you have a very subtle option here to choose from. I really like the drag spoiler. That's probably the one I'm gonna go for as well. But the rest of these fit the car very well. The majority of them are pretty tailored to this car. You do have your generic spoilers; they do make a comeback, but again, that's all up to personal preference. You do have your sun strips here, but I'm not gonna choose any. One problem with the suspension is that if you lower it adds a bit of camber. I personally find this a bit annoying, so I'm just not gonna put any on. I would have liked to lower the suspension, but I just really don't like how the wheels get tucked in like that. For the wheels, I mean, you still have a lot of wheels that can fit this car very well. I really like the stock wheels, so I'm just gonna leave them on. But I'm just gonna go through some of the wheel selections to just see what you got to play with here. The Super Lux, those fit the car very well in my opinion. There's quite a few others. It all depends on what you're going for. The Split Star look pretty nice here too. But I just like how the stock ones look, as I said, so I'm just gonna leave them on. They look very similar to the real life one too, which is pretty crazy. So it's pretty nice to see that detail. Anyway, all that's left for me to do is just put on the the window tint, and then after that, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna show you the interior and the engine model up close. Detail is great and texture quality is decent. As you can see, some parts underneath the 3D models, uh, they're on the lower quality side, but it's not really a big deal. The same goes for the interior model. The interior model is shared with other vehicles such as the LG RH8 from 2013. But you know what? It's not a big deal. You can overlook that. The fabric in the back of the trunk, it's not that bad to look at either. I'm sure not many people will be looking back there anyway. But the rest of the car, I feel like it's just very well made. 90% of it is just the 370C. It looks very, very close to the real life car. Speed is decent and handling is great. I really love the way this handles. It's just perfect. The braking power is just pretty good as well. However, I feel like the performance could have been a bit more exciting. Uh, this is one of the vehicles that really does deserve a speed a speed upgrade as well. Maybe like an HSW upgrade in the future. That would be cool to see. I know that Rockstar really loves to go and revisit older vehicles and just give them updates. This is one of the vehicles that really needs that to be competitive, right? But other than that, I feel like it's still a very solid choice. I really don't have any complaints with how this car performs at all. Besides, a much needed update. But other than that, I feel like this is still a great choice for collectors and tuners. But anyway, that's all I got for today. And as always, thanks for watching.